Hi everyone, I'm Kyle from the Shift Open Finance community, and today I'm joined with Henry, the co-founder and CEO of Wollette. Let's get straight into it. What does Wollette do? What services do you provide?
Thank you very much, Kyle, for having me today, and it's great to be here. Wollette, as I like to call it, is basically a commerce operating system in a box. And put simply, we provide the capabilities for SMBs, to operate and able to compete with the likes of the bigger players on the market. So, when you think about what you need to run a business, you need a point of sale system, you need a payment system, you need the ability to, service your accounting system, push your transactions into your accounting system. And you need a way to connect with your suppliers as well. All of these things today would require an SMB or an SME to essentially, leverage multiple different disparate systems, and they all cost money. And the other thing is, one of the challenges that the SMBs are facing today is attracting more customers. When you think about, the innovations that have been out there from the likes of Tesco's and Sainsbury's, when you use the app in store, you get discounts.
Yeah.
SMBs can't do that. The SMEs, when you go to your corner shop, you don't have that capability, and they just cannot, develop such systems because there is no way for them to scale. So what we provide is the capability for them to do all of the above that I've just talked about on a single scalable platform. So we start this basically by offering the merchants the ability to collect transactions digitally by essentially sending their customers digital receipts and then analyzing that data. And then from there, they can actually extract and extrapolate insights into, who is shopping with, other shops and what are they buying, what sort of things are they interested in, do they need to buy more of a certain product and get more stock in place and that kind of stuff. And also, we help them to integrate into a very innovative payment system, something that we've just basically, submitted our patent for. So from our perspective, we are bringing to bear, the technology that will allow SMEs, SMBs, and if the bigger players wants to join in, to be able to actually compete in an ever-changing world of finance and merchandising.
Amazing. So revolutionary payment services, digital receipts, data analytics, and the ability to offer almost club card-like rewards, like the big supermarkets.
Absolutely. So, the key things, from our perspective, are when you think about your receipt. So you go to the supermarket, you buy something, you collect that paper, and many people just chuck them away. But from our perspective, that is a database, a point-in-time database that contains what you'd like to buy, when you like to buy that product, and how often you like to buy that product. Now, what I like to say to folks is, imagine if you take all the receipts that you've collected in the past 5-7 years and put them into ChatGPT. Just imagine the kind of insights you're going to be able to extrapolate from that from that process. So from our perspective, what we want to do is to allow for merchants to be able to actually glean the insights that they are throwing away today. Because many merchants don't have the system or the systems, in place to be able to manage such data sets and to analyze such data sets.
Or to scale.
Or to scale it, exactly. And because we offer our services to so many merchants, it means that we can actually operate at scale. We bring into the market, the economies of scale. Effectively, what we are able to do is we're able to say to merchants, we would take that data that you would normally throw away today. We will analyze it and we'll be able to tell you what it is that your business actually need, to go to that next level, and what it is that you need to do to attract more customers, to your door. And when you think about things like loyalty systems, having a loyalty platform is not cheap. It is incredibly expensive. And what we also do is we allow merchants to essentially, stand up a new loyalty system without really having to build anything. Because what we've done the hard work. We know what loyalty is. People want to buy, products because they are cheaper and they are going to get points, for buying those products. And people would like to use their coupons to, reduce the cost of their shopping when they go to store. And what we do is we say to merchants, why don't we automate the process of applying points to the accounts of consumers that are using our consumer app? And why don't we automate, the process of granting those consumers coupons based on what we see on their receipt? So you set the rules and we do the execution of the rules, and we assign those coupons and points to your consumers.
Okay, and now touching briefly on your background, what made you come to start Wollette? Where did the idea come from? The
idea of Wollette is a very interesting one, because it was in 2017 I found myself at a local shop next to my house, shopping with my little boy. It was, I believe at the time, 4 years old. He's not 12. So we were there, and after buying the products that I wanted to buy, the machine was like, would you like to collect your receipt? And I just thought to myself, come on, this is the 21st century. Why are we still collecting paper? Seriously, we've got space station, circling the earth, and we cannot even solve the problem of a paper receipt. So I set out, trying to, solve that problem. But then I got distracted. I ventured into trying to solve a loyalty problem, for the big guys, using your credit cards or your debit cards, what they now call payment loyalty.
Yeah.
So at the time, it was incredibly complex because, number one, you've got security issues around, card details. You have to be EMV certified and so on and so forth. It's just too complex. And then the killer of that idea for me, what basically got rid of it from my mind, was essentially the fact that I believed that come to think of it, would Tesco's, tell me, Henry, yeah, great, we love your system, take, all our loyalty platforms and start managing it for us? That's not going to happen. So I needed to think of something that actually would materialize, something more tangible, something that's realistic.
Yeah.
And that was, to try and build out a data analytics system, backed by digital receipts. And, just by happenstance, around the same time, the law in France started to trickle down. So basically, the French government basically said, starting from 2022, we're not going to allow merchants to print paper receipts. Then they relented and they said, okay, we're going to allow them to print it, but they need to ask a few questions before they actually print those receipts. And then they deferred the rule to 2023. And that was when, the idea that we had at Wollette started to pick up, and we were deep into the building process at the time. And we felt validated even before we, sort of launched our product by the French government, which was fantastic.
Yeah, the market's moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. And then towards the tail end of 2023, something incredible happened. The great folks from Eurometropole in Strasbourg, they came to the UK and they said they would like to meet with us. And so we met with them and they said, we really liked what you guys are building, because obviously there is a new regulation in France that says, merchants are no longer allowed to automatically print paper receipts. So they wanted to see how we could help them to obviously advance their, sort of adherence to that law in the region of Strasbourg. And so I went to Strasbourg in December of 2023, and the company was just myself and pretty much someone else, we didn't have a big team, but I just went there just to see, okay, let's see what Strasbourg has got to offer for us. And the reception was incredible. The people of Strasbourg are amazing. So, and, the way they treated us and, the ecosystem was incredibly vibrant, and the level of support that they were willing to give to us as a British company was amazing. So fast forward 5 months, we basically went back to Strasbourg. We clarified and we ratified a few things, and we made sure that we actually, understood exactly what we're going to be getting ourselves into. And August last year, Wollette became a French company as well as a British company. So we are now incorporated in 2 countries, UK and France. And so, in a nutshell, the idea of Wollette, started from me, having a complete disdain for paper receipts. And now we've moved it forward, to something that's way bigger than what we actually imagined when we started.
Yeah, way bigger and already in Europe as well.
Absolutely.
So we've been working together for the past year now, having monthly catch-ups for our Shift Plus program. Why did you join Shift Plus, and how have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And, for me, I think it's really important to have people around you that can support your journey and your growth as an entrepreneur, because a lot of people don't realize that this journey really takes you to some incredible places, both happy and sometimes not so happy place. And just having that sort of network of support for me is incredibly important. And secondly, it's joining Shift Plus for us has been a complete game changer, because we've had access to opportunities that we would never have had access to without Shift Plus. And being able to be sort of a part of a network where you can actually see around corners, you can see what others are doing and what's coming along on that journey, and then react to it is quite great. And having the humility to also be able to speak to someone and explain to them the problems that you're facing and how they can help you, and reach out your hand and basically ask for help. I think that's also something that is one of the reasons why why I basically decided to join Shift Plus. And it's been transformational, because I've met people, I've met different organizations, I've become friends with so many different people. And I think as a business, because ultimately, the bottom line is to, help your business grow and, help your business thrive. And as a business, Shift Plus has literally done so much for us in the past year than we could have ever imagined.
Amazing. That's really nice to hear. And I'm glad we've been able to have that impact. I'm glad as well you've built so many connections. You always have such a people-focused way about your business, which is always the way to be. And that's perfect. So also now looking at the future, you've just had quite a big fundraise, which you might be able to speak a little bit about, but what's on the roadmap? What's the next 5 years looking like for Wollette?
Yeah, I mean, just touching on the fundraise. I mean, if anyone had told me that a year ago, or when we started out, that we would be, literally closing a fundraise of over $1 million, I would say to them, no, you're crazy. And we hadn't even been to any venture capital. We've just done it, with friends and family.
Yeah, that's £1 million pre-seed as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is a testament to the power of the idea and, the belief in the execution that we are bringing to the table, and, the trust in the expertise that we have collectively at Wollette. So, from my perspective, I remember the days where, I was, sort of funding a company from my own, savings, and it was pretty tough because, I was just building, and I would sit there writing code and thinking, is anyone actually going to use this code? But I just kept building because I thought, if I stop now, then clearly I failed. But I'm not one to stop. So that's that for me, and I'm really grateful to everyone that has supported us, everyone that has supported us on this journey, because without them, we won't be where we are today. And in regards to the future, so usually when people ask me, what do you think about what's going to happen in the next 5 years, I usually reply by saying, I don't even know what's going to happen in the next minute. But in truth, in business, you've got to plan for the future, because the job of a CEO is to see around corners. You've got to see what's coming. You have to be abreast of the regulatory changes. You have to be abreast of what your competitors are doing. And then you've got to have something to actually react to it. So with Wollette, we are essentially, like I said, we've currently submitted a patent for a very revolutionary, innovative ways of way to make payments using open banking, and it's going to really change the game massively. And we are also essentially building a point of sale system. We call it a connected point of sale system. So, I mean, imagine, a customer goes into a shop to buy bread. They scan the QR code on the Wollette app. And after scanning the QR code on the Wollette app, they get their digital receipt. And what they can also do is make payment using that Wollette app as well, without having to log into your bank or, the shenanigans of open banking. You don't have to go through that process. We've made that simple. And on top of that, as that transaction lands on the account of the merchant, we process that transaction, we send it into their accounting system. So they don't have to log in and then start moving transactions into their accounting system. Yeah. And then on top of that, what we do is we then look from the perspective of you as a customer and say, okay, this merchant had already set rules to give coupons or to allocate points to their customers. Do you qualify? And if you do, you get those coupons and you get the points automatically. It's zero touch. I mean, the system just works. And then more interestingly, if that merchant had decided to then use the Wollette advertising system, to reach out to more customers, as you walk around, based on what you had bought in the past, you would be given targeted advertisement on your phone. Targeted. This is not like the ones you get on your computer because your sister had gone online to buy stilettos. Not that. This is basically offers targeted to you based on what you actually like to buy. And consumers like this because they feel like they are being heard. And the merchants actually care about them because they are not selling them things that they don't care about. So merchants have the capability to use our platform to do incredible things. I mean, just imagine, the way I describe it is, think about Money Supermarket on steroids. And then think about the advertising systems of all these big companies on steroids as well. That's what we are building. I mean, I know we are not a big name, but what we are building is basically, we've looked at the market and we said, okay, if I was the target of these advertisements, what exactly would I want to see? And that's what we are building. And the best product that you could ever build is one that solves a problem that you have. And because I don't like being followed by adverts based on Roblox when my son goes and look for V-Bucks on the internet, or based on stilettos that someone in the house might have searched on the internet. I want something meaningful to me, something that actually fulfills a need for me. And that's what we are building. And we are also building a platform that essentially allows suppliers to now join the ecosystem of Wollette. So we are not stopping at the merchants and consumers and effectively everyone else around them. We want to bring suppliers on board as well to help them tap into the ecosystem that we've created on Wollette. And above all, we are bringing the banks with us because, all of the things that we are building requires, accounts, That's how commerce works. That's how trade works. You move money from A to B, and the banks are the backbone of making that work. So we are bringing banks with us as well. So we are very privileged and we are very thankful, to be working with the CIC Credit Mutual in France. And they've been quite supportive of us. They've really helped us a lot. And we are looking to work with many other banks on our journey to essentially help them look at the way that they solve the problem of commerce for merchants from a different perspective. Because, when you look at the value chain, you've got consumers, you've got banks, you've got suppliers, and you've got merchants. And, without either of those, any one of those, I call them the key fulcrums, without any one of them, then the system doesn't really work. If you remove the consumers, then who's going to buy the products? If you remove the suppliers, who's going to supply the products? If you remove the banks, then where is the money going to be kept? You take away the merchants, then who sells the products. So quite frankly, you need all of them, for a viable, vibrant ecosystem. And that's why, at Wollette, we believe that you need to build a system where everybody wins. So we don't believe in zero-sum game. We believe in a non-zero-sum game, a game whereby everybody wins.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to create incentives for absolutely everyone within that ecosystem. So what are those incentives? Consumers want cheaper products, and merchant wants to make profit. Banks want more customers, and they want to make profit. Suppliers want to sell their products to more people, and they want to make profit.
Yeah.
So profit and cost reduction drives everybody within the ecosystem. So that's what we bring to the table, because we can leverage technology to do that. And so for the future, we are bringing in our payment systems, which is going to revolutionize and change the way we pay using open banking. And just one story, when we started out with building Wollette Pay, we set ourselves the most difficult task. So we looked at the open banking ecosystem, and we said, okay, what's the biggest challenge? What's not been solved? Today you can pay using QR code, you can pay by link, you can pay by any other random type of open banking modality. But we thought, why can't we pay, TFL to get onto the underground using open banking? And that's the goal that we set ourselves, and that's what we are solving. So just imagine the reach. I mean, not just in the UK, but across Europe, that you can actually get to.
I mean, that's huge. Like, you're taking what is the full commerce system for consumers and merchants, making it easier, but then also, people never expected open banking to be too successful as an in-person point of sale, because it's not as quick as contactless, it's not as easy, but you are creating that new way to do it. But let me pause right there, because we've spoken a lot about Wollette, and you might touch on this a little bit with your payments methods and what you want to achieve in the future, but forget Wollette for a second. The financial services industry as a whole, what innovations are you looking forward to?
So for me, I'd say open data and open finance. So the reason why I say open data and open finance is essentially these innovations and the regulations that are coming out to support open finance and open data are effectively giving the power back to the consumers. Now, your data as a consumer is being used to effectively help companies like Google and Amazon become richer.
Yeah.
Your data. Every time you buy something from them, they store your data. You don't even know what they're storing about you, but they store your data anyway. But you go to Google, you do a search, they store your data. They know when you wake up. They know when you go to sleep. Yeah. And that allows them to sell more. Now, with open finance and open data, what I believe and what I hope would happen is companies will start to provide opportunities for consumers to actually monetize their data. Imagine if you could rent out your shopping data, to get maybe discounts or to get 6 months free of, your Amazon subscription or whatever it might be. That's a great way of you getting value for your money, right? So, or if you could, use that data to perhaps allow you to reduce the friction that you face today when it comes to accessing certain services or products. Yeah, that's another way that you could use that to, democratize the current ecosystem.
Definitely. Knowledge is power. Absolutely. And we have gone so far into a data economy that we can't now prevent data access, but we should be able to at least own our own data and earn from it and have our choice around where it goes. So, I believe open data is going to be quite a big game changer for that.
It is. It is going to change everything because, just being able to use that data and also when you think about the impact that open data is going to have on the healthcare, it's going to be huge. Yeah. And making data fungible, being able to move that data without having to sort of restructure it or change too much about it or, it's going to make it's going to reduce the cost of systems as well, because now data should be interchangeable, so you don't have to build different, IT systems to be able to process that data, because you're going to have a standard. I mean, I just hope that the mistakes that were made with the adoption and implementation of open banking are not repeated, because with open banking, we had standards. We still have standards. I mean, if you go to the open banking website, you would see what those standards are.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you integrate with the providers, they create their own,
their own differences and nuances.
And then the problem is, you are locked in, right? Which is probably great for those guys, because, any business will like to lock you in, right? It means that, the idea of open banking, which was to make finance and data about, your transactional activities fungible, has only been partially realized. And the great problem that we have today is that friction of not being able to, sort of switch or whatever it might be. And there is also a risk in lack of fungibility in open banking. And that risk is, we've witnessed many banks' systems going down, which means if your supplier were to go down, how do you stay resilient? And do you build the same system twice? Because you cannot sort of, connect fungibly across different APIs, And I think we need to start thinking about how we can actually solve these problems, because they are real problems, and if we don't solve them, it's going to increase the barrier to entry for many fintechs. Because not every company will be able to splash out or have the technical know-how to be able to build systems around all of these complexities.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to wrap up there, but it's been an absolute pleasure, Henry.
Thank you.